Hey, what is up people? This is Sarang, and in this video we are going to talk about intermittent fasting. We're just not going to talk about it. I'm going to tell you actually how to do it, because there are many people who are trying to do intermittent fasting and they have no idea what that is actually in the first place, and how to do it. Most people who are trying to do it just jump onto it. It just does not work, and then they just crash and quit the whole protocol. So in this video we are going to talk about exactly how to do intermittent fasting, how to begin intermittent fasting if you're a beginner, and also if you are doing it, how you can increase its efficiency to help you in weight loss, fat loss, or whatever might be the reason that you're doing it for. So before we really begin this video, I just want to make this clear from my perspective that I don't think that intermittent fasting technically offers any more benefit than normal calorie restricted, protein equated diets for the most part. But if the technical things were the only thing that produced results, then we wouldn't have an obesity epidemic all over the world. We wouldn't have 1 in 3 people obese out there and 1 in 5 people diabetic, and things like that. So all that jibber jabber out of the way, let's just get into exactly how to do intermittent fasting. So I've basically divided this whole entire process into 3 major parts. So originally I planned to do this on a whiteboard, as you can see here, but I have no place to hang it here, so you're just going to have to deal with this kind of format. So the number one thing that you need to get sorted when you're doing intermittent fasting is to pick your timing. Now this is very, very crucial, because most people don't even know that there is an option to pick your timing. So what I mean by timing is basically in intermittent fasting, all you're doing is you're compressing your feeding window to an 8 hours or 8-10 hours per day, and the remaining 14 to 16 hours you are doing a complete water fast. The general idea of intermittent fasting is in a way that you skip breakfast and you have your first meal around 12 p.m. or 2 p.m. and then you begin eating for like 8 hours or 6 hours or whatever your eating window is, and then you stop eating. So most models of intermittent fasting have their eating window later in the day. Now you can obviously do that if you have no problem in skipping breakfast and having large lunch, but you can also very easily, very conveniently, with no problem, do this eating window early in the morning. That means you are starting from say 8 o'clock and you are doing it until 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock. So you can do just that with early in the day instead of later in the day. So once you have picked your timing, the second step is to pick the duration of your eating window. Now this is very, very important. I tell this to people time and time again, to not jump into the hardcore kind of fasting. Like don't really jump into the direct 16 to 18 hours fasting, 16 to 8 hours fasting, or 18 to 6 hours fasting and things like that. The sweet spot that I will recommend you to start from is a 10-hour eating window and a 14 hours of fasting. Now for some people you might even find that tougher to begin with, because your dietary choices and your overall diet, your carbohydrate intake and things like that. If you are on a low carbohydrate diet, generally speaking, then it won't be really harder for you to do a 10-hour eating window and a 14-hour fast every single day, because most of your body is already running on fat, so you won't have that you won't really get that much hungry. So if you cannot do a 10-hour fasting, it is very fine to start from a 12-hour eating window and a 12-hour fasting regimen. I won't really recommend you to jump onto a 16 to 8 fasting regimen directly, because that really might lead you to crash and fail and quit this amazing protocol that can really help you in this whole deal. All I'm saying is ease into the process. Start from a 10-hour window, do it for 2 to 3 weeks, and then after 3 weeks of doing the 10-hour feeding window, decrease your feeding window 1 hour every week until you find a comfortable place that you can stay at. I would not really recommend you to go beyond the 20-hour mode, like 20 hours fasting and 4-hour eating window, because firstly you really need to know what you're doing at that point, because in 4 hours you need to get all your food and all your nutrients in the right way. You need to adjust your workouts and things like that accordingly. You need to pay attention to your sleep, stress levels and all that kind of stuff. So after 20 hours fasting, I think it gets kind of complicated, and you can do it, there is no problem in doing it. It's just that you need to know your shit if you want to do that thing. The third question, exactly what to eat when you are doing an intermittent fasting regimen. So the number one thing I would like to tell you about this is all the general rules of dieting, calorie restrictions and weight loss apply to you if you are doing intermittent fasting. So if you think that you can eat anything in the eating window and you still lose weight just because you're doing intermittent fasting, then you're completely mistaken. It does not at all work that way. You still need to eat whole, minimally processed, minimally refined foods with enough protein, and you need to be in a calorie deficit. Otherwise intermittent fasting does not work, because I have done intermittent fasting and I have actually actively gained weight on intermittent fasting, not by mistake. I wanted to gain weight, and I also wanted to try this whole thing with intermittent fasting, so I actually gained weight with intermittent fasting. So calories matter at the end of the day. I don't care whatever you're doing, calories is the bottom line. So make sure that you are in a calorie deficit, eating enough protein, and you're eating whole, minimally processed, minimally refined food. Now the next part of this whole discussion is exactly how to increase your efficiency at intermittent fasting. Now to really understand this whole deal, you need to have your intention clear as to why you are doing intermittent fasting in the first place. Because if you're just doing intermittent fasting because it is convenient for you, if it is convenient for you to skip breakfast and have a huge lunch meal, and it just makes you not overeat, and it is just not if the reason that you're doing intermittent fasting isn't much, it doesn't much have to do with weight loss per se, then I would say that this is all you needed to hear, and you can quit this video at this point. And just make sure before you quit the video, hit the subscribe button. But if you are someone who are carrying around a lot of weight and you really want to increase your efficiency of intermittent fasting, then this part is for you. So exactly what to eat in intermittent fasting and how to do this more efficiently. So to increase your efficiency of intermittent fasting, I will recommend you to go low carbohydrate or ketogenic, just because when you fast, you get into this state of fasting ketosis. All that means is your ketone bodies are going to be slightly elevated because you haven't eaten in a long time. So if you're doing keto with intermittent fasting, then they're just going to help each other, and it's just, in my opinion, it's going to work way better than if you were to do like high carbohydrate diet along with intermittent fasting. So in general, when people are doing intermittent fasting, they are basically mostly eating 3 meals throughout the day. So say if you're doing this whole intermittent fasting thing later in the day, say your eating window starts from 12 p.m. and goes up to 8 p.m. in the evening, and you're eating 3 meals a day. Here is how I would tell you to distribute your macronutrients and your food. So in the first meal, I would recommend you to get all your vegetables and as much protein as you can, because when you have fasted for 16 to 18 hours, your body is basically very insulin sensitive, and you are going to be very good at absorbing those nutrients that you eat in the first meal. Now there isn't very much scientific backing to this claim, but it's sort of logically it makes sense to eat vegetables and protein in your first meal, so that you're insulin sensitive and you will absorb all those nutrients way better than if you were to eat it later in the day. The second meal, in my opinion, is where you should get your majority of carbohydrates if you are eating carbohydrates other than vegetables. So if you are doing, say, a kind of low carbohydrate diet where you are eating around like 70 to 100 grams of carbohydrates, then I will say that get all of your carbohydrates in that second meal and don't much focus on protein in that second meal. And in the last meal, get your fat and remaining protein, because if you get fat in the last meal, then it is going to be easy for you to fast for the remaining 16 to 18 hours, because fat is absorbed, digested and absorbed slowly by the body, and your body will just have exogenous fat to run on. Not that it matters much. Again, like I told you, at the end of the day, it all comes to how many calories you're eating and how many calories you're burning and how much protein you're eating when it comes to primarily for weight loss. Now that is true technically speaking, but there are many more points, there are many more factors beyond the technical things when it comes to really losing weight and keeping it off. So in my opinion, all in all, I will say that if you can do intermittent fasting and you are not, apparently you are not facing any damage, or you just have no problem in doing it, then and you are overweight and trying to lose weight, then I will highly recommend you to do it, because it is something that is going to really improve your relationship with food, and it is going to make you form healthy habits around food and all that kind of stuff. that is what at the end of the day really matters when we are talking about long term uh, maintenance of the weight that you lose. So that is it for this video. I hope you liked it. If you did, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you enjoy these kinds of videos, and I will see you in the next video.